Whether your Memorial Day plans include going to the beach or hanging at home for a family barbecue, here at WagerTalk, we want to have a safe and enjoyable holiday. To help with that, we're offering a 3-day Memorial Weekend special available this Friday and Saturday. For only $49, get a 3-day all-access pass from your favorite handicapper, including 5% plays. No coupon needed, just click the 3-day all-access and start saving.
Happy Friday, everybody. Friday starts the weekend, and we are here to make your weekend a profitable one through the props betting market. I'm Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com, and this is Prop It Up. Joining me, as always, my fellow prop masters, Matt Josephs from SportsMemo.com, Andrew McInnis from WagerTalk.com. Gentlemen, we've got Memorial Day weekend. If you saw the commercial before, we've got specials galore. Got a really, really good 3-day pass for a low price. That is available to any handicapper. So go grab that. And let's make this Memorial Day weekend a moneymaker. So, Matt, how are you doing? And what do you got going for us this weekend?
Doing well. I always enjoy the Friday show. Love talking props, even though someone once famously told me you can't make a living off the prop market, which I think is patently wrong. The same old stuff. I mean, some of the K props are still waiting to come out for later on this afternoon, so we're looking to see. It was a rough week and a half or so for me, but 11-3 the last 3 days, so we're looking forward to keeping the profits going this holiday weekend.
You sent me the clip, and I believe it was like, well, you can't be consistent with the props. It's like, let me see your record there, Sporto. Let's see how consistent you are. Seriously. Oh, that was... Yes, absolutely. We are here to show you can be more than profitable in the prop market. Andrew, how are you doing? What do you got for us this Memorial Day weekend up in Canada? Great stuff. Your series predictions have been incredible. I'm kicking myself that I didn't get involved in some of those in NBA or NHL. I looked at them and then just never pulled the trigger. So I have regrets about that. Matt, let's start off with some MLB talk. You're the guy that I come to with K props if I have any questions. Need any help with wagers or anything. So walk us through the last week. What have you been noticing in the K prop markets? I know last week you had mentioned the books are starting to get a little bit more sharp on some of their numbers. So what have the last 7 days brought for you?
Well, I think it's interesting. I've crushed FanDuel in the past for what they've done with regards to K-prop market, but I'll tell you this, they started putting some out the night before, and last night, case in point, Alex Fado, who goes for the Detroit Tigers today, they put out a 4.5 number. It was minus 144 to the under. And once again, this is all about juice tolerance. To me, mine is about minus 150. I don't like to go above that. And if you look, the Cleveland Indians, they're kings of the under when it comes to the K-props. 20 of their 26 line K props have gone under the total. They're only averaging 4.18 strikeouts against right-handed starting pitching. They're actually 29 of 39 to the under overall. So I saw a 4.5 and I took the under. 10 minutes later, it went down to 3.5 with a heavy-duty juice. And then this morning when I got up, DraftKings actually had 2.5. So it's one of those things that just before you go to bed, and if you're involved in the K-prop market, just go take a look. It's not every game. I'm not going to say that FanDuel puts up every game, but you could start to get some numbers and beat the market a little bit, because I thought that 4.5 was nuts. He had just come off a start against these guys, had 2 strikeouts in 5 1/3 innings. So just one of those things where you start looking the night before and you see some value here. And basically what we're just doing is we're hammering the same teams over and over again. Unders with the Indians, overs with the Cubs, overs with the Padres as of late, some other overs with the Phillies and things like that. So it's really, I talk about it last week and I'll keep talking about it. I feel like strikeouts are contagious. There are stretches where teams just don't strike out. And then there's stretches where they strike out time and time again. The Rangers, one of those teams right now that continues to strike out. Last night, Frankie Montas went over his number in the 4th inning. I love victories like that. So just trying to find those teams that are hot and cold when it comes to strikeouts and hammering that thing until the streak wears off.
So it sounds like you're really gravitating more towards looking at the teams first rather than the pitchers. Is that how you're approaching K-Prop? I mean, obviously it's a little bit of both, but it sounds like you've really narrowed it down to what teams am I going to go after, right?
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you get up, like I get up in the morning, I pull up my FanDuel, I pull up my DraftKings, I look at the numbers, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of what I'm expecting. And if it's a team that I'm going to try and fade, like you look at today, Cole Irvin's a guy who doesn't strike out a lot of people. So you kind of have to weigh the number versus the Rangers who are striking out a ton. There's still some Carlos Carrasco against the Phillies. The Phillies have guys in their lineup that strike out a ton, but they've actually gone to the under more against right-handers than they've gone to the over. The Yankees, a team that you would think first off strikeouts, Joey Gallo, things like that. They actually have gone under more than they've gone over against right-handed starting pitching. So it's one of those things you have to fight perception with these teams and kind of take a look at, the pitchers, the current form of the lineup and things like that. The other market I like touching on, and this is on DraftKings and BetMGM, is earn runs allowed and outs too, which I find fascinating because there's some pitchers. Last night, German Marquez, he's been getting beat around quite a bit, but the Rockies are keeping him out there. He's going 5-6 innings a pop, even if he's struggling a bit. So that's something you could potentially take advantage of. Whereas Jordan Montgomery, he'll pitch really well, and they still won't let him go 6 innings or over 6 innings for the most part. So trying to find the trends of who sticks around, who doesn't face a lineup the third time through, you could certainly find some angles in this market.
Yeah, can you explain how the outs props work, because they're fairly new? I just kind of saw them towards the end of last year, didn't dabble in it. So can you explain? It looks like they're starting to pop up, like you said, on a couple of them. So can you explain how the outs props work?
So like what, basically first off, FanDuel doesn't do this. DraftKings. So what DraftKings does is they put up a couple of pitchers early, and then they'll start putting up the rest as we get closer, maybe when the lineups start to come out, because there's some pitchers we really don't know. But basically the outs prop is over under 16.5 outs for, somebody. I think, there's some that are higher. Justin Verlander's a little bit higher today, but if you notice, Justin Verlander has struggled at times to get to 6-7 innings. He's had a little bit of a walk issue so far this year. So it's really kind of, when I take a look at the outs prop, I look at current trends, because on the spreadsheet that Ariel and I created, we do the opposing starting pitchers and we look at how long their starts are and how many strikeouts they have. So if there's a team where they struggle against lefties and lefties are going a little bit longer, then you might want to look at the over. The juice is insane on some of them. Like one time last night, they opened a guy up at minus 180 to the over and plus 140 to the under. You're not going to take the minus 180 to the over because that's just way too much juice. But, the books are being careful with something like this because they know it's an exploitable market.
Great stuff. Always love those markets we can take advantage of. And it sounds like, at least in the props, it's like the less websites and books that it's on, the better it probably is to take advantage of for us. So we like those little niche things. Great stuff from Matt Josephs at sportsmemo.com. Andrew, coming to you, a lot of NHL player props have just been incredible for me. I know for you, 43-11 since March 22nd on player props play. Last night was amazing. We had 2 player props in the Calgary game that were not going well, and then they both went over in the span of like 4 minutes in the second period. These NHL playoffs are, in my opinion, from an excitement standpoint, are dwarfing the NBA, and it's also been incredibly profitable. So talk to us about the NHL playoffs, where we're at right now, and what you've been seeing for player props.
Well, Andy, first of all, again, congratulations to you, because you guys are crushing it. Hats off. And, I think that you mentioned the playoffs and how, first of all, exciting they are as a fan and a bettor, but also just profitable. I mean, there's a reason why I don't jump, full on into the prop market in the playoffs or in the NHL until the playoffs. When there's a 10 to 13 game slate, you might think, why do you not like doing props more then? But I just like to know what I'm going to get. I like to know who's going to be out there. I like to know who's going to be out there with who, what type of game it's going to be. Before I jump into some quick analysis, you always start things off, Andy, by saying Friday starts the weekend. I guess the weekend started a little bit early for our producer because I was muted during our first segment. So I just want to let everyone know my NHL rest of the playoffs is now $99. You can grab that. I'm hoping to be 7-0 with my series wagers. As of right now, I'm 6-0, hoping Carolina can win their next game and keep that undefeated streak alive. But it's been a great NHL playoff so far, especially with those series wagers and then the in-series totals and all that good stuff. But, Andy, you mentioned about the different books, some of these most profitable bets with not every book offering it or being new to it. That's kind of what I talked about 2 weeks to you guys about the prior to the game starting, betting the third period over, or betting, will there be an empty net goal? Not every book has that. Probably a good reason for it, because those have been cashing left and right. But what I really wanted to break down today, and it's quite simplistic, but especially in the NHL, you have to know what you're getting yourself into with each series. If you have a wrap on what the totals are going to be like in each series, then it can really help you with your prop betting, whether you're looking at unders or overs with certain players. Now, we have a perfect example of what last night was like. I'm talking about Thursday night in the NHL. We have the early game, which you probably could have taken a nap during that game. And you have the late game that if you went to the fridge to get a beverage and it took you 1 minute and 11 seconds, you missed 4 goals. That's the difference between those two series, and it's pretty insane, So what I'm getting at here is that with those series like that, you can look at Connor McDavid to get a goal. You can look at Evander Kane's shots on goal, because what have they shown us in that type of series that they're going to revert to a low-scoring series and a style of hockey? Nothing. But you look at the Carolina and New York series. I mean, guys like Sebastian Aho and Chris Kreider, guys that tore the league apart all year long, they have these juicy prices on them to not only score, Andy, but to get a point. And I don't come on here talking about unders with props too often, but in those series, that's what you have to be looking for. You could also look at save props for each goaltender, but, looking at the Tampa Bay and Florida series, that was, the Battle of the Sunshine State, a huge rivalry series. We saw one team get swept. And after game 1 or game 2, everybody should have realized Florida's not scoring and Tampa Bay is playing great defensive hockey. So what do you do with that? You take a look at Alexander Barkov for Florida, under on shots on goal or points. You look at Jonathan Huberdeau, under. You look at even some of these guys for Tampa Bay, Steven Stamkos, Kucherov. The top guys are not always the guys for your props. But specifically in the under series are where I'm looking to take advantage of the big names to go under, especially on shots on goal, especially on those goal props. So really, it seems quite obvious, but knowing what it's going to be like, and we talk about it all the time during football season. I remember the Chiefs versus Bills games. I mean, you, Matt, and I just licking our chops. Who knows what all three of us were going to give out for a game like that, because there's so many options. And that's how I feel about the Battle of Alberta with Calgary and Edmonton. But with a series like the one with Carolina, New York, and what we saw with Florida, Tampa, you really have to be aware of it because everybody wants to cash this goal scoring prop plus 300, tell everybody they predicted a guy to score a goal. How about somebody not to get a point, somebody to go under 1.5 points, not get a power play goal, because that's what we're seeing in a series like that. When you only have games that are 2-1, Andy, and this series in Carolina has gone under in every game, does that motivate you to want to take overs?
I think one of the things that my takeaway from the NHL playoffs has been consistency and just following the same guys. If you can find those trends, I mean, and not being concerned if it loses once.
Right.
So when you find the series and you find which teams have the really good matchups, and I know we're going to get to one in your best bet. I've said this over and over again that, like, if I see a guy that's consistently going under, there's not a whole lot of analysis that needs to go into it. It's just like, hey, this guy's not getting a lot of shots. Why? Doesn't matter why. He's either not on the power play or he's that's just not his role in this series. So, when we talk about NHL player, it's just a lot of the same names coming up over and over and over and over again. I think sometimes, we can overthink it and say, well, last game, they really did a good job on this. So this game, maybe they'll make adjustments. Like, no, just take the guy. He shot the puck 8 times last game, and the books have it at 2.5. He's going to go over. So,
and the point you made, Andy, about not giving up on a prop after losing once is a really good point to make, because just because it loses once, go right back on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to touch on a little bit of what I've been noticing in MLB. I'm not nearly as good at the K props as Matt Josephs. I'll absolutely admit that. One thing that has been working for me is some of these batter props, and we cashed one last night, and I really like focusing on some of these batters that the book set the line at over half a hit or half a base. You can find some incredible value, and people talk about not laying juice and you don't want to lay too much, and I'm all for that. But sometimes when you find a bet at minus 160, it should be minus 200. So you're actually getting 40 cents worth of value. And that's what I'm finding in some of these batter props. Cole Calhoun was a batter prop that we cashed last night. The books had it at half. He had a great matchup against a pitcher that he's torched, and he's been on fire. He had hits in 12 out of his last 14 games. And I was okay with, doing a 2% play at minus 160, and it cashes. And I think that's just going to be a theme of mine moving forward throughout the baseball season, is taking some of these batter props that are half a hit or half a base. I'm going to need another week of sample sizes to really get a really proven record, because I think I've only done 4 or 5 of those using that. But that's something that I'm going to be using throughout the rest of the MLB season. NBA, tough to find some props tonight for the Celtics and Heat game, but as soon as we get a line on Kyle Lowry, we're taking the under on his points, rebounds, and assists. I don't know if the books have the stomach for putting out a Kyle Lowry line. I don't know if he's going to play. But if they put out a line, we have to take it under. Miami is so beat up that I don't know if Hero is going to be available. I'm not sure if Lowry is going to play. And Jimmy Butler is another guy that I would look at under. His legs look dead tired. There's no rest in this series, and the Celtics have just been throwing waves of defenders. I think you're just looking at unders for the Miami Heat players tonight. And as far as the Celtics go, their individual player props are starting to become unplayable just because of how inconsistent they are. We thought Al Horford would have a big rebounding game last game, and everyone else on the team decided they were going to rebound except Horford. Jaylen Brown has a great scoring game, then he comes back and can't shoot any 3. So I'm nervous about the Celtics advancing because I don't know what player props I would like in the NBA Finals, because I find the Warriors and the Celtics 2 of the harder teams to handicap from a player prop perspective. So we'll see. Hopefully the books give us some really good lines, and we'll be able to figure that out. But as far as the Celtics and Heat tonight, I got to wait on the lineups. There's too many guys that are game time decisions. So we'll wait later. If we have any plays, they'll be up at WagerTalk.com. So it is time for the Prop It Up Bet of the Week.
Andy.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm guessing there's a chance, looking off of, because that every 11 a.m. every day I put out my notable MLB histories. I'm guessing you might be interested in Gene Segura today, who's 7 of 16 with 3 homers against Cookie Carrasco, and he's been hitting really well. So would that be somebody you would potentially look at under that situation?
Gene Segura is on my short list of players. I'll tell you another one. We're all family here. Andy Ibanez is in a horrific slump. He's 1 for 17. He's getting benched like every other game. He doesn't have a hit in 3 straight games, and he has a terrible track record against his pitcher. So I'm looking at under. I would look at under half a hit from him. It's plus 135. So the pendulum swings both ways. You can do this with unders and overs, but absolutely Segura was actually on my list just because of his matchup, and he's been good. So yes, that is absolutely something that would fit in there, Matt. Yeah, are you done with your 11 a.m.? Do you have any more guys that you like?
So looking at it'll come out. I have it set up because I do it the night before. Max Kepler, 6 of 16, 2 home runs against Brad Keller. Jonathan Scope, who was a really nice number. What was it? A couple nights ago, he had like 4 home runs against the guy. He's 6 of 20 with a homer against the Beebs. Robinson Cano, 7 of 19 with a homer against Jose Quintana. Now that one's a little different because obviously they've been in baseball since like the 90s. So who knows how many of their at-bats were in the 90s and now, obviously not the 90s, but Jazz Chisholm, 5 of 13 against Ian Anderson. And then Starling Marte. Well, this one doesn't fit now because Zach Eflin's not in. But for tomorrow, Starling Marte, 7 of 13 with a homer against Zach Eflin. He's not pitching tonight. He'll pitch tomorrow. So that's something you can keep in mind for tomorrow.
I feel like Jose Quintana has been involved in bets for 30 years. It feels like that guy has been in my baseball life forever. So that is great stuff. Yeah. So check out Matt's Twitter, and at 11 o'clock, you'll be able to get all of those stats. That's great stuff, Matt. All right, Andrew, let's do it. You weaseled out of last week.
I was in an airplane. I was in the air.
I was going to say,
weaseled out.
By weasel out, I mean traveling. You're up. You have your best bet for today. It is an NHL player prop that I absolutely love. So take it away. What is the prop it up bet of the week?
Well, I'm happy I have the Andy Lang stamp of approval here. Look, Andy talked about riding just hot props. This is one that's worth jumping on here, and we're looking at Nathan McKinnon over 4.5 shots on goal tonight, minus 130. I'll start with this. Here's a quote that he said last year when he got knocked out of the second round. And I quote, "I've been in this league for 9 years, and I haven't won shit." Yeah, it's not the biggest quote in the world, but the reason why I bring that up, this guy is a man on a mission. He got a hat trick last game, scoring 3 goals for his team, getting several shots on goal, and they still don't win. This is game 6 now against the St. Louis Blues. I guarantee you things are not going to look out for them or go well for them if they go to a game 7. Oh, yeah, and he's hit this prop in 7 of his last 10 games. I'll remind you again, everybody else's shot prop is 2.5 or 3.5. For this guy, they got to give him 4.5, and it's still too low. Give me McKinnon over 4.5 shots on goal tonight against the St. Louis Blues.
I love that prop. He hit his prop last game in the first period. If you took over 4.5 shots, you cashed it in the first period. It was an unbelievable performance. I still don't know how they lost that game. But all right, so there's your prop of the day. We're going with Nathan McKinnon over 4.5. Can never go wrong when you take a Nathan McKinnon over. So great job. Let's cash that one. Guys, don't forget, we've got the Memorial Day special that is available for all handicappers, $49 for a 3-day pass. It includes 5%, everything. It'll include props, it'll spreads, totals, everything that we put out, you'll get as part of that special. So just go to all of our profile pages and you'll be able to see that. We got Matt Josephs at sportsmemo.com, Andrew McInnis at wagertalk.com, myself, Andy Lang at wagertalk.com. Gentlemen, great show. A lot of actionable infotainment. Hopefully get our weekend off to a really good start. To have a great 3 days in the prop betting market. For Andrew McInnis, Matt Josephs, I'm Andy Lang. We will see you next week on Prop It Up.
Whether your Memorial Day plans include going to the beach or hanging at home for a family barbecue, here at WagerTalk, we want to have a safe and enjoyable holiday. To help with that, we're offering a 3-day Memorial Weekend special available this Friday and Saturday. For only $49, get a 3-day all-access pass from your favorite handicapper, including 5% plays. No coupon needed, just click the 3-day all-access and start saving.